Good morning, everybody. Myself Navpreet kaur Verma. I am working as an assistant professor in PG Department of Computer Science at Arya College. Today I am going to discuss with you on the topic Database Management System. Here, our first topic is, what do you mean by database? A database is a collection of related data. It should support definition, construction, and manipulation. Next, our topic is, what do you mean by database management system? A database management system is a collection of programs that enable the users to create and maintain a database. Now, our next point is features of DBMS. First point, data storage, retrieval, and update. In this point, the ability to store, retrieve, and update the data that are in the database. Next point, user accessible catalog. In user accessible catalog, where descriptions of data components are stored and are accessible to the user. Next point is shared update support, a mechanism to ensure accuracy when several users are updating the database at the same time. Next point is backup and recovery services. In this point, mechanism for recovering the database in the event that a database is damaged somehow. Our next point is security services. In this point, mechanisms to ensure that certain rules are followed with regard to data in the database and any changes that are made in the data. Our next point is integrity services. In this point, mechanism to ensure that certain rules are followed with regard to data in the database and any changes that are made in the data. Next point is data independence. In this point, facilities to support the independence of programs from the structure of the database. Next point is replication support. In this point, a facility to manage copies of the same data at multiple locations. Our next point is utility services. DBMS provided services that assist in the general maintenance of the database. So our next point is shared updates. Multiple users are making updates to the database at the same time. For example, problem, multiple people updating the database simultaneously can override each other. For example, agents T1 and T2 simultaneously read the seats reserved on flight 890, that is 80. T1 cancels 5 seats, updating the seats reserved on flight 890 to 75. T2 reserves 4 additional seats on the flight and update the seats reserved on flight 890 to 84. If T1 updates the database before T2, T2 will override T1's change and make reservations to 84 rather than getting the correct value of 79. Similarly, if T2 updates before T1, the seats reserved will be 75. Our next topic is shared updates solution. Batch processing. Allow multiple users to retrieve data simultaneously. Updates are added to a batch file which does the appropriate processing. Does not work for real-time situations. Next point is locking. In this point, restrict access to the record being updated by a user till the transaction is complete. Now our next topic is two-phase lock. In this two-phase lock required when multiple records are updated as a result of a user action, for example, filling form, etc. Another point is all the records accessed are locked progressively till the required updates are completed. In this point, growing phase, more and more locks are added without releasing locks. The next point is after all locks are placed, the database is updated. Next, shrinking phase. In this shrinking phase, all locks are removed and no new ones are added. Our next point is deadlock. What do you mean by deadlock? When two transactions require a common set of records, both of them are in growing phase and each lock some of the records. None of the records are released and they wait for each other to release the locked records. They will wait forever. Our next topic is breaking deadlock. Under this topic, we have to cover 2 points: facilities and rules. Under the concept of facilities, all the programs can lock entire tables or an individual row. Programs can release any or all of the locks they currently hold. Next point is programs can inquire whether a given row or a table is locked. Here are some rules. If more than one row is required, then the entire table must be locked. The next point is limit the amount of wait for a lock to be released beyond which a transaction is aborted. Our next point is a well-designed transaction should lock all the rows and tables before starting the transaction. Users should release locks as soon as possible to improve the efficiency of the database. The next topic is security. Protection against unauthorized access, either intentional or accidental. Three main features for protection: passwords, encryption, views. In passwords, allow only authorized user to access the database. Access privileges can be provided based on access needs. In encryption, encodes data to non-decipherable data decoded on demand to prevent hackers from accessing data. Next point is views. Different snapshot of the data ensures that users only get access to data they need. Our next topic is integrity. Integrity constraints are the conditions that data must satisfy during initial input and updates. There are 4 categories of constraints: data type, legal values, format, key constraints. Integrity constraints enforces the uniqueness of the primary key. Referential integrity constraints: value of foreign key must match the value of primary key for some row in another table. Here our next topic is integrity solutions. Ignore constraint. Undesirable as it can lead to inconsistent data. Let us enforce the constraint undesirable since user mistakes can be disastrous. Let programmer build the logic of constraints in the programs. Makes programs complex, harder to write, harder to maintain and expensive. Place burden on the DBMS. Preferred way: cost of DBMS development amortized over large user base, hence economical. Next topic is replication. Duplication of data at multiple physical locations. Each replica of the data can be changed independently. Periodically, the replicas update their data to the master database. This process is called synchronization. Our next topic is disaster planning, backup and recovery. Under this, database can be damaged in a number of ways: power outage, disk crashes, floods, user errors. Periodic backups limit the loss due to sudden failures. Data can be recovered from the latest backup and the changes since the backup need to be done in either of two ways: manually from a catalog, recording all updates to the database since the last backup. Now our next topic is data dictionary. Data dictionary contains information describing the database, schema for the database, characteristics for each field, possible values for each field, description of the data, relationships, description of the programs. Data dictionary is same as catalog but may contain wider set of information than catalog. Thank you.